Andy Dufresne had always been a man of quiet composure, the kind of man who looked as if he could solve a puzzle without moving a single muscle. But one fateful night in 1947, as his wife lay in the arms of another man, his life unraveled in a heartbeat. When her body was found, riddled with bullets, all evidence pointed to Andy, even though he claimed innocence. The jury wasn't convinced, and so the young banker was sentenced to life in Shawshank prison. The walls of Shawshank loomed high and cold, filled with the kind of men who had forgotten what freedom tasted like. On his first day, Ellis "Red" Redding, a man known for smuggling things into prison, watched Andy step off the bus, a slender figure with eyes full of unspoken pain. Red didn't think much of him at first. Prison was no place for hope. Andy kept to himself, but trouble found him anyway. The Sisters, a vicious gang led by Boggs, made him their target. He endured beatings that would have broken lesser men, but he remained silent, a mystery even to Red. One day, when Captain Hadley grumbled about taxes eating into an inheritance, Andy made an offer that would change his fate. He promised to legally protect Hadley's money in exchange for a few beers for his fellow inmates. Sitting on a rooftop in the warm sun, Andy watched the guards sip their drinks. For a brief moment, freedom was palpable, even if it was only borrowed. A friendship blossomed between Andy and Red. They shared stories, laughter, and dreams of a world beyond the gray walls. Andy had a peculiar request one day, a rock hammer for carving stones into small sculptures. Red smuggled it in, never imagining how it would shape the future. As the years passed, Andy became the prison's unofficial banker, managing finances for the corrupt Warden Norton and his guards. But Andy never stopped dreaming. He poured his soul into expanding the prison's forgotten library, writing letters to the state until they finally relented. He helped inmates earn diplomas, instilling hope where despair had taken root. Behind his calm demeanor, a storm brewed, a storm of freedom and justice. Then Tommy Williams arrived. A cocky young inmate with a knack for trouble, he held a key to Andy's innocence. He knew of another man, a thief named Elmo Blatch, who had confessed to killing Andy's wife. Andy, electrified by the possibility of freedom, took his case to Norton. But the warden, consumed by greed and fear of losing his money laundering operation, silenced Tommy forever. Andy's hope seemed shattered. That night, Red watched Andy with dread. He spoke of dreams, of a small town in Mexico called Zihuatanejo, where he would live in peace by the sea. Red, wary of hope, warned him to abandon such fantasies. But Andy only smiled, his eyes alight with something unbreakable. The next morning, Andy was gone. Panic swept Shawshank. How could a man vanish from a locked cell? The answer lay behind decades of persistence. The rock hammer, the posters of movie stars, they had hidden a secret tunnel Andy had dug, inch by inch over 19 years. He crawled through 500 yards of filth to emerge, finally, into the cleansing rain of freedom. Andy didn't just escape. He left a trail of justice. He sent evidence of Norton's corruption to the press. The warden, cornered, took his own life. Shawshank would never be the same. Months later, Red, finally paroled, wandered the outside world like a ghost of himself. He found a tree by a stone wall, just as Andy had described, and beneath it, a letter awaited him. It spoke of hope, of friendship, and of a place where they might be free together. On the shores of Zihuatanejo, two old friends embraced, the sea stretching endlessly before them. It was a story of hope, resilience, and the quiet defiance of a man who never stopped believing in the power of freedom. And so, the legend of Andy Dufresne lived on.